Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our second hangout. It's a pleasure to see the community gathered again after our first edition. Before we focus on the theme of cybersecurity that brought us together today, I want to talk about business abroad, the Startup Portugal initiative that is set to support 70 startups in their expansion goals in 2022. This is an upgrade to our missions abroad. This move comes from the need to direct our activities to a business implementation approach. We want to support startups to close their deals. We recently launched applications for startups that want to join us on a voyage to Vivatech in Paris. We are in the process of finalizing the second step of the program Road to Web Summit, which will take last year's class to this year's edition of Collision. We will soon announce programs with special conditions and significant benefits for Portuguese startups to go to Hannover Messe in Germany and South Summit in Spain. So stay tuned to our newsletter and social media and be the first to know about the news on this topic. And now on today's theme of discussion. Since our last gathering, a lot has changed. Right after our hangout, we woke up to the news of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to the UN, more than 1,000 have been killed, and it seems almost unreal that in 2022, we're still fighting with guns and harming civilians with weapons. Ukraine has responded to this attack not only in land, but also in cyberspace. For the first time, an institutional leader called an IT army, gathering more than 3,000 people in a Telegram chat with daily targets for cyber attacks. The term activist has boomed in the media. The anonymous group has claimed to have hacked about 2,500 Russian and Belarusian sites. Earlier this year, we also witnessed relevant companies and their customers suffering from the actions of cyber hackers. In Portugal, we were particularly hit when a news outlet and a big telecommunications company were hacked, causing a significant impact on our general day-to-day activities. Today, one of the biggest Portuguese retailers suffered an attack, disabling its e-commerce main front. We're paying more and more attention to these topics, but are we really taking care of our digital security? A study by Accenture found that 43% of cyber attacks target SMEs, though most of them are not equipped with strategies or tools to protect their systems and their data. Acquisitions in this area have also hit records in the sector. Cybersecurity firm Mandiant joined Google Cloud for $5.4 billion, making this Google's second largest acquisition ever. If cybersecurity poses one of the most significant challenges to our community, we do know as entrepreneurs that it also represents a lot of opportunities. So today, to help us dive in the semantics of hacking and cybersecurity, tech threats, and business opportunities in this area, we will have in this stage Carla Pequenino, a journalist who has covered some of the most recent moves in the cybersecurity area. Online and from Porto, we will have Ana Castro, who is an expert in clinical and health psychology. She's also worked with a worldwide community of ethical hackers to enhance data protection and information security of organizations. Paulo Viegas Nunes from the Portuguese Army, who is also chairman of the board of the Competitive Intelligence and Information Warfare Association. Rui Ribeiro, CEO and co-founder of JScrambler, a startup which has developed a security solution for JavaScript in-app protection. And Yevena Brochevan, the co-founder of Hacken and CEO of Hacken Proof. She unites the efforts of bug hunters, internal security, sales, and product teams to provide security excellence for responsible businesses. Thank you all for taking the time to share your insights with our community. After the conversation, we will open the discussion with a moment for Q&A. And then we'll go upstairs for a networking moment, and so that we have the opportunity to catch up and open the conversation to everyone in the room. And now, to warm up the room, I want to call Tiago Mendo, CTO of the Portuguese startup Probably, who will give us some insight on how exposed our organizations can be to tech vulnerabilities. Thank you, Tiago. The stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Tiago Mendo. I'm the CTO and one of the co-founders of Probably, a Portuguese cybersecurity startup. That basically what we do is we test sites and APIs for vulnerabilities, for security problems. So imagine ourselves as a hackers, but doing it for the good. So when I was invited for this warm-up to talk a little bit about cybersecurity, and I saw the subject, where to draw the limits, I got myself thinking, limits? There are no limits. And I'm being hacked right now, maybe? Let me go back to the basics. Much better. So there are no limits. Hackers don't care about your limits and rules and not harming innocent people or services that do good, like IPO that tries to cure the cancer. So, and this means the attacks can target anyone, all industries, all kinds of people, anywhere. As Patricia said, and very well, recently, I think a month ago, Vodafone Portugal was hit with a big cyber attack that took a lot of their services offline. And this was something that a lot of you people that used Vodafone in Portugal felt, because their communications services were down. But attackers also target entities like the British National Health Service. So why would they target someone, an entity that helps them when they are sick? And attacks like those might cause death to people if some treatments are delayed. But the attacks, the list goes on. So before I submitted, I sent the presentation today in the morning. A few moments after it, there was an announcement of a big attack at another Portuguese company. So as soon as I hit the send, the slides were outdated with the headlines. But there are some attacks that were really cool from the technical point of view, but their impact was really nasty. So in 2017, and I suggest you to look up on Google for Maersk Wired attack, because it's a very nice read. They were hit with an attack that basically took their entire system down. Now imagine, and they had to do this, taking note of what the contents, destinations of 28,000 containers in a single ship, because this is roughly the number of containers one of their ships can take. They had to do this by hand. They were saved because there was a power outage in Nigeria, and one server survived, so they got lucky. Recently also, the United States fuel pipeline was attacked, so imagine yourselves without fuel in your cars. And a few years ago, in probably one of the most spectacular attacks from the technical point of view that we witnessed, the Iranian uranium enrichment plant, so part of their nuclear program, was damaged by an attack, by malware. So a physical component in a nuclear facility was damaged. So this is the power and that these attacks can have. And I need to, let me put this down. So the attackers basically don't follow rules. They don't care about the rules that sometimes I heard in my professional lives. People often would tell me, don't test that, that will break. Don't test that, it's not that will be hidden from the site. Or those kind of attacks are not allowed. Don't do it, please. Okay, so we're going to put a sign for the hackers to don't touch this. This is going to break the site. I remember a colleague of mine from the compliance area coming to me and saying, Tiago, stop creating accounts on that service. Why? Because you can't. You need to use those. You need only a person can only have a single account. But I can create accounts. I can create accounts with fake data. No, you can't. Yes, I can. And I created an account with the fake data. So there's a mismatch of perception. And basically, if it's possible, hackers will do it. But it might be interesting to understand why they do this, and it's really hard to understand their motivations because they are so diverse. It can be for fun, because it's nice to blow up things, because it's nice to hack NASA. It will be nice to say to my friends, I just hacked NASA, or I got some cable for free. But it can be for profit, and most of the attacks are for profit, at least the high-profile ones. Can be hacktivism, like Patricia said. We are witnessing a war, and there's a lot of people hacking Russia to basically try to pass a message to the population for them to know what's happening. Or it can be revenge, like a few years ago, a disgruntled employee basically, after being fired, delete the whole data of the company. So imagine your startup suffering from this. This is hard because your sysadmins can do this. So the consequences are immense and can be immediate or delayed. Okta, an identity and authentication company, was hacked in the beginning of the year, and this got in the news. It got disclosed during this week. They handled it very bad. So basically, what happened it was that their stocks went down 20% in a few days. The Maersk, so the shipping attack, cost them 300 million. So it was a huge cost. And this was easy to collect. I didn't bother finding more examples. These are examples of 4 companies that went bankrupt after they were hit by an attack. So, and some of them happened a few months after, some years later, because their IP was stolen. So basically, someone stole their IP, start manufacturing or selling the service cheaper, they are out of business, as easy as that. So you might ask, and people often ask me that, especially people that are not in the security area. So are the attacks increasing? I keep seeing in the news attacks every day. Today at lunch, I was watching the news on SIG, and they started by announcing a cyber attack. And immediately after that, some detentions after a computer fraud attack also. So I think what is happening is, yes, the attacks are increasing because as time goes by, more and more services are online and you depend more and more of those. But, and I think this is the real reason behind this, awareness and visibility is increasing a lot. So as I said, the news at lunchtime today in one of the main TV operators in Portugal started with a cyber attack. Imagine this 5 years ago. So everyone knows that companies are under cyber attack. And for instance, with the Vodafone attack, the Portuguese CEO of Vodafone, Portugal, after attack, went immediately to the news and told people what was happening. This is very different from what was happening a few years ago when no one would say a thing. It would say basically no comments. So basically what is happening is we are having more communication, it's more transparent. The attacks are having a more direct impact in your life because you were left without service. So basically they had no choice to tell people something was happening. And regulation. Regulation normally is they are the bad guys, but in this scenario they are good because regulation drives companies to improve their security. So this seems very dark and basically the world is lost. What am I doing here? But it's not like this. So we are not losing the battle, I think. But there are a lot of things that we need to do to start changing the table and start winning more. So the first thing is to raise the bar. You at your companies, you need to raise the bar for the attacker. The attackers typically choose the weakest target. If a theft sees a house with an open doors and one with closed doors, or one with an alarm and the other without it, he will choose the easiest target. This is the same with cyber attacks. Unless you are a top corporation and you are an interesting target for industrial espionage or a foreign nation, most likely you are going to be hit because you are the weakest link. Maersk, they were hit by accident. It was a malware, an automated program. They were hit because they had a vulnerability and it was not target. So it's important for you to have a mindset of security. It starts with training. It starts with testing. You already test your products if they work. Now you need to start testing your products if they are secure from the start. This is the concept of shifting left. So putting security on the beginning of the process. Don't go talk with the security guys Friday night telling them we need to launch this today. This no longer works today. So, and it's very important for this mindset to start at your C-level. So go talk with your CEOs, CTOs, because it needs to start from the top, period. Because of the budget, they have the money, right? Because of the visibility, their speech reaches the entire company and has a lot more power. And they are the enablers that are going to legitimate and help the people that implement the process that will start increasing the security of your company. And that's basically it.
Okay, so thank you, Tiago. So now I'd like to call Carla to the stage, please. Ana Castro will be joining us online. Ana, also Paulo Viegas Nunes, Rui Ribeiro, and Evenia Brochevan. Força. Anna, can you hear us? Yeah? Okay, great.
Okay, great. So thank you everyone for joining us. We will have some time for questions from the audience at the end. But basically the main objective is understanding why there is an increase in cyber attacks and what can be done. And maybe I'll direct the first question at Anna, who is, as you know, an expert in psychology from the University of Porto. What motivates a hacker? How does a hacker think, and what motivates him to orchestrate an attack?
Hi. Thank you, Carla, for the question. I'll try to talk about hackers. I need to talk a little bit. Could it be?
We're having some problems here. You seem to be a bit delayed. Let's try again.
Hear me clearly now?
Yes, good enough. I think if we go slowly, we'll get it.
So it's said that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Will hold different views of an object or phenomenon, much in the same eye of the beholder. So two individuals look at the same behavior and come to different, should be categorized as cybercrime. So in effect, definitions of cybercrime, we think about the ecosystem and about the hackers and the
Anna, I'm going to cut you down a bit because we're receiving you with quite a bit of delay. So maybe we will manage to get that out in the end. Maybe if we figure it out. And I'm just going to go to my people here who are in stage. So maybe Rui, not what motivates a hacker, but what doors do companies still leave open that hackers use? What are the main places where companies aren't covering?
I'm going to give you a weird answer from a technical person, but most problems start with the humans, with us, with the users, with reusing a computer for the family that then installs some nice game, into situations where the users are tricked into doing something that allows an hacker to enter a company. But for me, the security problem is not just hackers doing something. Most of the security problems that I see happening are just about mistakes that company staff did, and all of a sudden a big database is exposed to the public or something else. So I would say that the biggest problem, I wouldn't say it like that. It's not the problem is not the humans, but the biggest cause is the people factor.
Okay, so the human error.
Yeah.
And Ivania works with Hack and Proof, which is a company that unites bug hunters, let's put it that way, with companies. And these bug hunters are hackers that are hired to find the flaws. How can companies benefit? Can the bug hunters find the technical place where humans will fail?
Yeah, so definitely hackers can be different colors, I would say, because they could be like white hat hackers, which is good hackers and helping you to spot vulnerabilities before black hat hackers or cyber criminals will exploit that for their profits. And definitely how companies can benefit from that. So in fact, they can have like a army of hackers, but working on their side rather than attacking them. And they are preventing future hacks before bad hackers actually looking for that. So definitely it's very important to have complex approach to security at the company level. It's not only like internal security, external security, but also nowadays it's about crowdsourced security, which means that you are tracking hackers, different hackers who can help you to find vulnerabilities, and in this manner protect company. Yeah. And its applications.
Okay, technical issues right now. Let's wait for the train to pass. Okay, it seems to be over. And Ivania, we normally hear about bug bounties and bug hunters with companies. Can governments and public institutions also work with bug hunters?
Yeah, definitely. So that's not news nowadays. Companies, not only companies, but also governments work with ethical hackers. It started around 10 years ago when, like Netherlands, for example, started vulnerability disclosure processes for their government websites, or US, they started bug bounty programs for like Hack Pentagon, Hack Army, and Hack a lot of other stuff. Even us in Ukraine, we work with a lot of hackers to protect resources, because it's, as we know, on the market of cybersecurity, there is not enough specialists, and you can't employ all of them to help to protect. So like working in this crowdsourced manner with hackers, that definitely help both governments and companies. And a lot of governments already do that successfully, openly. So hackers can help legally to protect government resources rather than just go to jail because they found vulnerability.
What are some of are the way that you organize bug bounties from a company or with the government, is it different? Do you have to have something in consideration?
Yeah, definitely from government standpoint, you have a lot of other legal stuff that you should cover, but generally the approach is the same. It also varies on the government, with whom you work, and do they require like passports, verifications, and a lot of other stuff. But the idea is the same, find vulnerabilities before.
Mm-hmm. And what if you can't? Because in my interviews, often something that people tell me is it's not if a cyber attack happens, it's when a cyber attack happens. So is this something you agree with? And maybe going here to Paulo Nunes, who is a defense security expert with the Portuguese Armed Forces. If you can't prevent a cyber attack, what can you do to make sure that the impact is the minimum possible?
Okay. I do believe that we cannot see the cyber attack as a source in itself of a threat. We need to understand the ecosystem, because it's a problem of the ecosystem. We rely too much on technology, sometimes without proper thinking about the risks we are incurring. I just ask one question: who doesn't have a smartphone here? So no answers. But you know how disturbing can be the apps that just pop up and ask you to update, right? And if you share these kind of feelings, the first reaction you have is shut up, and it will update your smartphone. When that happens, in fact, what you are doing is providing authorization for a third source to work in your own device. This starts here. I will not go further because it's a huge part of this big ecosystem. So the attack surface is enormous, and we will not solve the problem of cyber attacks. We can manage it, but we cannot solve it. And to do this properly, we need to, would say, reinforce the ecosystem with all the means that physical society will have to deal with different kinds of problems. First, cybertext doesn't provide us a flag that say, I'm a cybercrime cybertech. No, by chance, some of the cybertechs attack everybody. Critical infrastructures, government enterprises, startups, and of course, individuals. And when that happens, we need all sorts of systems in place to provide the ecosystem the right way to allow us to take the best of it. And that is the main question. How we will secure this big area of attack? So I would say that we need a sort of code of contact first, and that needs to be taught since the early ages. If you go to a shopping center, a mall, that you will see the young kids just touching on the iPad, and sometimes it's very useful because they will be entertained and will not provide any complaints to their parents. But then, of course, you need to have a sort of certification of everybody to use technology. And I will compare this with the driving license. When we go to a car, we need to take the belt. So when we start using computers or any kind of IT devices that will by all chances always connected, and in a network, you do to have the same cautious. You need to take your prevention measures and be using technology with appropriate security. And then there are traffic rules. So you cannot go in this sense, you need to go in another sense. So when you just navigate and you go through the web, you need to be aware that if you go to a specific website, you'll be incurring additional risks. So don't go in that hazard path. So just choose the right path. And if we take these small measures, we will get more safe and we will build resilience.
Okay, so besides the mitigation, guarantee that people have the right education and are able to avoid maybe oversharing data. When you were saying that story, I remember, I think there's a very well-known anecdotal case in the United Kingdom where people shared a lot of their private information and their address just because they wanted free chocolate. And this is something that happens everywhere. That maybe teach people to not do that, even though free chocolate might be very nice. Just to here we have just with my invitees, before we go to questions from the audience, just the main question. This is Startup Portugal. There are a lot of opportunities in the cybersecurity area. What would you say are some of the main spaces that aren't being covered and that need new solutions in cybersecurity? What can startups look at? Maybe start with Paul and then go down the line.
Okay, it's not an easy question because we have in one side the stream of innovation that is quite fast and it's a buzzword we hear every time. And then we have the speed of technology. And to bridge the gap between the two, it sometimes is really hard because there are gaps. And these gaps, as you mentioned, need to be fulfilled with, I would say, actionable innovation. And actionable innovation is to see where the gaps are, like a landscaping of it. And there are plenty of pop-ups on this landscaping exercise. And then go for it. I do believe that we don't have much time here, but we can share this kind of deeper thoughts afterwards. But we did something like this concerning education and training. I'm also pitching a little bit the Cyber Academy Innovation Hub. It's a project that we developed with a couple of enterprises. It's located at the Military Academy. And we have three main streams. We have education, training, and exercises as one line of development of the activity. The second one is innovation, investigation and development of things, research and R&D. And we have support to industrial development. Our idea was just making the bridge between the knowledge that is being developed, incubation, and ideation. So we need to build a sort of melt between the three lines. And this melt will provide actionable innovation. So sometimes we just get stuck on the middle of the process. We have good ideas. We even have a means to put those ideas into practice from ideation, and then we don't make it actionable. And that is the last mile. And doing that, we targeted the curriculum just to fill gaps. And we have been quite successful because like this, you don't incur the risk of duplication. So you get more value of doing this in this way. And then you can, of course, build between what is new and innovative, a new, I would say, set of innovative things. And I do believe this is key for the future.
Rui?
So, looking at as a professional that works in security, what is important for us is to have tooling and people. But there is not enough people in the world to solve all the security problems because we keep creating new ones. So tooling is like the most important part, and that's where startups come, and that's where I see the biggest opportunities. We need to make sure that we are filtering what is important from what is a problem, but not a relevant problem now. Tiago was mentioning, don't go in that direction because we already know that there is a problem there. Go in the other direction, or try not to find the problem for me. And maybe that was what they were asking of you. And so I think that we have to drive innovation so that the security teams are able to manage all of the challenges that they have. They are a lot more today than they were before, not because we have more hackers, but just because we have more systems and we are using more technology. And security is not about hackers. It's about how we build our tools, how we build apps, how we build the phone, how we build the video conferencing system. We need to make sure that this security awareness and this security focus is built into the applications and into the tools that we use on a day-to-day basis. So I would say that there is a lot of opportunities in terms of investing, in terms of for startups and for bigger companies, to make sure that we are focused on the things that are most important, and that and it's going to happen, when you have a problem, you are able to silo it and react very fast. The Maersk example that Tiago gave is a good example. Because they had a flaw and the server was down, they were able to recover. So we have to have systems that are not so predictable, so that we are able to fall back on them. And things like pen and paper and processes is also a possibility as a fallback from technology.
So maybe not focus on preventing cyber attacks, but on reacting and focusing also maybe on the human error, which was one of the main problems. Ivania, can you share your opinion? Also, maybe have you seen any startups rise up in this time where there's been a lot of cyber offensive surrounding the war? Have you seen interesting projects come up?
Yeah, sure. Just understand that hackers are just indicators how good system is, so how good we do our job.
That's a good idea.
In fact, and definitely, I have a lot of ideas regarding that. Yeah, the last, I guess, 7 years, this crowdsourced security actually starting getting more and more popular, especially in the sphere where I mainly work. So we work in blockchain, and actually yesterday happened the hugest hack in crypto, which is $600 million. I can't say more, like $600 million. Definitely for the last 5 years, this industry is getting more mature from what we see, but still there are so many gaps here, and which is good about this industry, that it's really transparent. You can see all source codes open for everyone. Everyone can check that. A lot of applications open sourced, and definitely there is a huge room for startups, for new tools in blockchain security. So this industry is getting more and more mature, and definitely everyone can contribute, and it's really top notch because the impact is really huge, and it's easy. Everyone can see that, and everyone can be victim of that.
Have you seen some interesting projects come up recently?
Yes.
And that will be just yes.
Yes.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Anyone from the audience want to put forward a question or ask something? I'll remind that we have a Ivania who works with a company that joins bug hunters and companies. Rui Ribeiro, who is the co-founder of a Portuguese-based cybersecurity startup, and also Paulo Nunes, who can give some insight about the cybersecurity or the cybercare behind critical infrastructure and the Portuguese armed forces. Yes, please.
What are some existing initiatives on the educational side? Thank you. What are some existing initiatives on the educational side that are available to the general public and audience to raise awareness on the topic and educate, instruct, share best practices in order to avoid mistakes and human error? What, let's say, common people have access to right now in order to just contribute, any courses or any communities, anywhere to turn to in order to learn more about it and just contribute more.
Just before we start, I'll say that there are some programs. The problem is those programs might not be reaching the population. Do any of you have anything to share on that? So educational programs people can use.
I won't answer your question, but I will tell you that education is not enough because people keep making those mistakes. The chocolate example, like every time we log into a Wi-Fi network that we don't know and they tell you something and you just press OK, every time it's an impulse. So we will always fail there. But there is basic education that you need to know, and most of it is common sense. Like some things are too good to be true. But on the other side, I do think that education for the professionals, that's incredibly important. And universities are doing it. They are including security topics on their courses. And so I think it's going to progress, and we are going to have more professionals developing and building tools that are much more resilient against attacks.
Anyone else?
I know that in our country we have several initiatives for starting from school where they teach children how to use computer and smartphone properly, and it's starting from like very early ages, definitely. But for a general public also I heard about some initiatives from EU Commission, so definitely it's getting more popular.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a more substantial answer.
Take notes.
Yes, Portugal led back in 2014 a project that was called the development of a cyber curriculum. The idea was to allow the NATO school that was in Latina to move to Oeiras, that where it is now, and develop full curriculum, cyber curriculum. At the beginning was quite a hard task because Portugal was just starting to understand what cyber was all about. Even considering a full curriculum, that could be a very different thing. But we did it, and we developed with 20 other nations, because it was a smart defense project on NATO is not mandatory. So nations just join because they feel that there is a value, added value on that project or on that stream. And that really helped us a lot. We had a link with the US DoD, the custodians of NIST, and also the NIST 2.0 platform. And they supported the development of the curriculum. So the curriculum was completely fitting and aligned with the highest standards of cybersecurity and cyber defense. But we opened a national path on the same scope. So we aligned the national community with the NATO community. And what we achieved was that this alignment brought us a communicating basis. It means that you just drop one initiative in one place and drops immediately to the other. And if you are aligned, you can do the reverse as well. So we open this space in cooperation and synergies to do this. But the EU, and I was just listening the example that was previously mentioned, also start the same kind of track. So they intended to develop the cyber curriculum, mainly in the military side. and invited the nations that were already doing this at the NATO side, because there is a strategic alignment between the two international organizations in Brussels. And since we were invited, we were able also to synchronize. So in the specific moment in time, in 2019, more or less, when we finished this last report about the curriculum, we get up with a joint curriculum, a common basis that was aligned between Portugal, because we started to do this, and we invited other nations to do the same at the different levels, with NATO and the EU. And the curriculum itself started to be a cooperative way of being interoperable in cyber. This is almost a case study. But now, I mentioned before, we have the Cyber Crime Innovation Hub. The Cyber Crime Innovation Hub was born exactly when we finished that project. And what we are doing now is exactly reinserting this cyber curriculum. The basis we used at that time is being used for the National Cybersecurity Center. We have a protocol with them that will be the basis for the maturity levels that are being implemented at the national level. And we will offer these courses to the community. By the way, in the military academy, since 2001, we have a course that is called Competitive Intelligence and Information Warfare. Since 2001, I still remember when we pitched this idea and it was presented. First, it was at the military academy, open to civilians. It's quite bringing together two different worlds, but it was like science fiction at that time, because nobody believed us. Oh, these guys are completely out of their minds. But it worked, and it's still today being delivered at the military academy. We will deliver a course that will be announced very soon on cyber warfare and cognitive warfare. We haven't time to discuss this, but this is moving up, meaning that the synthetic way of dealing with this kind of new warfare is moving to the semantic field. So I was just discussing this before we started. Instead of seeing cyber as the source and the base, we should see it as a vector. But what we assist today, even in Ukraine and the conflict with Russia, it's much more on the information side than in the cyber side. Cyber is just a vector. It's an information. It's a warfare of narratives. And we are dealing with upper level. It's cyber 2.0 or 4.0 at this stage, considering that cyber is the source of it. I will not go further because time is limited.
There are clearly a lot of tools. I think that he had the question answered. But great. And I think there are a lot of resources, certainly. But this reminded me that there are resources, but sometimes people don't use them or don't seem interested, because we hear about cyber attacks every day. We've seen that. It seems like cyber attacks are increasing and people seem to become desensitized. It's another attack. This happens. This is normal. What can be done to prevent this? Maybe you can share some ideas, each one of you. Is there anything that can be done to prevent this? No, there's no hope.
I can try and start to answer that question, because if you desensitize the population, we have an even bigger problem, because then no one will care. And we have seen that, like every time that I now install an app on my phone, he asks me for 7 permissions. And I have to say yes, 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 yes. And I stopped I stopped reading at the second yes, and I'm one of the paranoid ones. So I think that what we need to think is how we reduce this type of problems and this type of responsibility that we're passing to the user. Companies must pre-screen. Companies must say why you are using my data, why you need that data, but that needs to be screened and regulated previously. Because if you allow the user to do all of those decisions and is not informed enough, he doesn't know the total implications, he's going to do the decision that is easier for him, and which is press yes, which is a button that is more interesting and allows him to move faster. And the danger is there. Today, we share a lot of ourselves with companies that we don't know. We know exactly why they use that data. They use that data to sell stuff to us and to use our time. But people don't care. So I think that there are, for example, the GPDR regulation. It's annoying as hell because every time we go to a site, we have to say, yes, I allow cookies. But the principle behind it is very good. We are saying that companies are responsible for using your data and you have the capability to say, I don't want to share my data with you. The principle is right. The implementation that companies did was somewhat wrong. But I think that there is a combination of regulations to reduce that scope. We cannot pass that responsibility to the end users.
Mm-hmm. So it can't just be the end users. There has to be something done before it. Do we have any other questions before we wrap it up? Last call. Okay, everyone seems pretty excited. So I think I'm going to wrap it up so we can go to Hangout. Yes?
We have some people watching us online.
Okay, great. We have online questions. Sorry.
It's not really a question, it's more of a comment. It's how it's necessary to educate and should talk, how it's important to talk about the concept of hacker better. And this reminds me of a question that I think might be important, that is, how can we make sure that people are informed of like which kinds of hackers there are? And if I'm someone interested in technology or solving challenges, how can I not be drawn to the negative goal of this specific action? How can I be like a white hacker? Or how can someone who is young, who's studying technology, know about these programs, know what they can do with their talent, instead of being driven to
The
bad
dark side.
behavior?
To the black hacker.
Yeah.
So white hacker, if you don't know, is kind of the good side of hackers, the white knight. I think Ivania might be the best person to answer this.
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of really cool specialists that don't know where to use their skills, and it could be different ways, and it's a personal choice where to go. But definitely nowadays in bug bounty, so let's say it's like kind of freelance, you can find a lot of possibilities to get bounties, which is like your monthly salary or even like annual salary, just for finding bugs. Especially like in blockchain, you can receive for one bug like $3 million. And definitely it's a good way to apply your skills for a good site and be sure that tomorrow nobody will knock your door and you can sleep safely. So definitely just go Google and find bug bounty programs. There are a lot of bug bounty platforms which aggregates all these programs and possibilities for the young specialists that can utilize their skills for good.
And that isn't illegal, which is very important.
Yes.
So I think that should be the main motivation. Don't do illegal things.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to wrap it up. I'm sorry that we couldn't hear Ana Castro. If anyone has questions, you can still please contact her online. Hopefully there'll be less blocking. And thank you very much for your attention.
Okay, so I want to thank everyone to our panel today, and a special thank you for Anna. I'm sorry that we couldn't get the means. I don't know what happened today, but just to say that Anna was really important to talk. She was the first one to talk with Startup Portugal about this topic, and she suggested people to be here today. So thank you, Anna, for all your help. And if you want to know more about her, Ana Castro, you can find her on LinkedIn, or if you want to reach her, just let us know and we'll make sure to put you in touch with her. Thank you, Anna. Thank you to all our panelists today. Now, if you would ask you to join us upstairs for a drink and some live jazz. I hope you enjoyed this session. Just to remind you that our hangout happens every last Wednesday of the month. So in April, we'll be joining here again, and we will be talking about startup regulation and what fiscal incentives we can make to boost the ecosystem. So please stay tuned to our channels, and we hope to see you soon. Okay, enjoy. Thank you.